Democrats passed the Inflation Reduction Act. Dark Brandon rises. And the FBI searches Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. Then more on this week's headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. The Biden administration announced it was sending $1 billion in rockets and ammunition to Ukraine. This is the U.S.'s biggest shipment since Russia invaded. Well, some might say we don't have that much money to spend. This isn't $1 billion in cash we're sending. It's $1 billion worth of rockets and other ammunitions from stockpiles. And considering how large these stockpiles are, this is basically like donating to Goodwill one old sweater you never wear anymore, if that sweater had enough firepower to overthrow Guatemala. That said, the Biden administration will also be sending cash to Ukraine, $4.5 billion to be precise. According to U.S. aid, these funds provided by the United States through the World Bank allow the government of Ukraine to maintain essential functions to its people, including social and financial assistance to Ukrainians further pushed into poverty since the start of the war, children with disabilities, and internally displaced persons. That all sounds well and good, but like everything these days, it's controversial. And one reason is because of how little of what gets donated actually gets to the Ukrainian people. CBS News announced they would delay airing a documentary they made about the war in Ukraine, after deleting a tweet where the founder of a nonprofit had this to say.
You know, all this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like 30% maybe reaches its final destination.
CBS says that delivery has improved since that assessment from back in April, although they didn't say how much it improved. But essentially, that guy is saying that as of 4 months ago, 70% of the stuff the U.S. sent to Ukraine may have been misappropriated. I can't believe it was that low. Only 70%? Way to go! I've never seen the government work this efficiently before. Maybe there's hope for the future yet. The U.S. government is trying to help Americans pushed into poverty as well. Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act, pretty much along party lines. The Democrat-led bill is a $700 billion package intended to tackle climate change, healthcare, inflation. That's right, they're trying to fight inflation with even more spending. I'm confident this will work. Completely unrelated, I'm also confident you can put out a grease fire using vodka. And after the break, the White House is trying to improve President Biden's image. I'm not sure it's working. Welcome back. A Nebraska woman has been charged with aiding her teenage daughter's abortion at 24 weeks after police obtained Facebook messages detailing their plan. Facebook's parent company, Meta, claimed it didn't know the investigation was related to abortion when they handed over data to the authorities. Oh, that makes me feel better. Yeah, this massive tech platform mines all of our data and works hand in hand with the government to ensure privacy is a relic of the past, but thank goodness they're pro-choice. I almost thought they were the bad guys for a second there. Maybe we should all get off social media, especially certain White House staff who are trying to improve President Biden's image with memes. You're cringing already, aren't you? Because that's where we're at with political discourse these days. Instead of showing off your political accomplishments with actual facts, just use success kids. The big meme they're trying to push now is Dark Brandon. It's a gritty co-opting of the Let's Go Brandon meme used by the right. White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates tweeted this after the Inflation Reduction Act was passed by the Senate. He also tweeted this meme. Because everyone loves dark and gritty, right? That's why the DC cinematic universe is doing so well right now. And I'm sure the Dark Brandon meme would be more endearing if Biden didn't look like the sociopathic mass murderer Homelander from The Boys. It also doesn't help, as many have pointed out, that it looks like there's a Nazi eagle in this image. This would be like celebrating the end of Movember by showing off a mustache that looked like this. Maybe workshop that one a bit before doing your victory lap. Speaking of unfortunate co-opting, two researchers are warning that bachelorette parties destroy LGBTQ safe spaces. I don't think you need to do a lot of research to figure out that bachelorette parties ruin any space they're in. If you've ever seen a well-behaved bachelorette party, that's for sure a second wedding, because they realize you shouldn't get too carried away celebrating a marriage that might not last longer than the expiration date on the gift cards you got at the reception. The researchers said the women in these bachelorette parties aren't to blame, though. Toxic masculinity is. The women are displaced by rape culture and seek refuge in queer spaces. But the queers are faced with tolerating the heterosexual gaze or not showing up at all. So they're saying that men oppress women, forcing them to oppress the LGBTQ community. That's some impressive victimization calculus. I say, to set things right, the LGBTQ community ought to seek refuge in Buffalo Wild Wings, pushing out straight men and closing the loop. From now on, it should be the LGBTQIA B-dubs community. 4 Muslim men have been ambushed and shot to death in Albuquerque since November, with 3 of the killings happening in the past 2 weeks. An Afghan man was caught and charged in the killings. Authorities aren't sure what motive he might have or if these should be categorized as serial killings or hate crimes. According to a police statement, the offender knew the victims to some extent, and an interpersonal conflict may have led to the shootings. Motives are still being explored fully to understand what they are. This is tragic for the families. And it's going to be even more tragic 6 months from now when 20 true crime podcasts use this story to try and sell their listeners Manscaped razors. Any of you true crime fans out there upset about that joke? The truth cuts deep, doesn't it? Just like Manscaped razors, despite saying they won't cause any nicks. Lies. And after the break, the FBI raids Donald Trump's home. Welcome back. On Monday, the FBI conducted a search of former President Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, without ever having been in Donald Trump's home, I bet I know what they found. A bunch of empty McDonald's wrappers, half-used bottles of self-tanner, and a copy of Art of the Deal, all scattered around a golden toilet. Was I close? I bet I was close. The raid came as a surprise to many. Even the White House claimed they weren't aware of it ahead of time, with one official saying, "We did not have notice of the reported action and would refer you to the Justice Department for any additional information." So far, reports seem to indicate that the FBI was searching for official presidential records. That included classified documents Trump may have taken with him after leaving office. If Trump did take classified documents, it would be a violation of the Presidential Records Act. That was passed in 1978 to avoid scandals like the ones that occurred during the Nixon administration. This act states that presidential records are owned by the public, get transferred to the National Archives once the president leaves office, and becomes public in 12 years. Destroying or keeping these records is illegal. Anyone who violates the act shall be fined $2,000, face up to 3 years in prison, or shall forfeit his office and be disqualified from holding any office under the United States. That last part is most interesting, as some feel this may have been a politically motivated maneuver to prevent Trump from running for president in 2024. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy wrote on Twitter this was weaponized politicization, and that when Republicans take back the House, they will conduct immediate oversight of the Department of Justice. And, of all people, Andrew Cuomo agreed with this, tweeting, "The DOJ must immediately explain the reason for its raid, and it must be more than a search for inconsequential archives, or it will be viewed as a political tactic and undermine any future credible investigation and legitimacy of the January 6th investigations." I'd listen to him. Because if anyone knows anything about destroying your own future credibility, it's Handsy McGrandma Killer over here. With all the controversy over what the FBI was looking for at Mar-a-Lago, on Thursday, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland did something unusual. He moved to unseal the search warrant and property receipt, meaning the public would be able to see the reasons for the search and what items were found. Unless, of course, Trump opposed it being made public, which a lot of media articles speculated on breathlessly after Garland's announcement, with articles talking about how Merrick Garland was calling Trump's bluff. The idea was that Trump could possibly fight to keep the warrant sealed because he's embarrassed by what's in it. But then, Trump pulled a Trump. He responded to Merrick Garland calling his bluff by calling his bluff. He wrote on Truth Social, "Not only will I not oppose the release of documents related to the un-American, unwarranted, and unnecessary raid and break-in of my home in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, I'm going to step further by encouraging the immediate release of those documents." He also added some rants against Democrats and then a random comment about how Republicans are killing it with fundraising, just so we know Trump wrote it himself. We won't know what's actually in the search warrant probably for a few days. At least it seems like that as of this recording. But Trump's lawyers have claimed he cooperated with the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA. Trump claims he cooperated with the Department of Justice and the FBI in storing the records securely. According to several Republicans, other former presidents have been slow in turning over classified documents to NARA. In a joint letter, they said, "NARA's singling out of President Trump's handling of official records stands starkly in contrast to the way NARA has treated far clearer violations committed by politicians and officials who are not Republicans." Many feel this raid was a double standard since Hillary Clinton was only subpoenaed and didn't have her home raided for similar allegations of removing classified documents. Wait, can it be? I think it is. This is finally an example of, but what about her emails that's actually relevant? However, the reason for this raid might be because authorities were afraid documents may be destroyed. After all, the Secret Service deleted texts from January 5th and 6th, 2021 after they were asked for them. And claims of Trump keeping or destroying documents aren't new. Claims surfaced that he flushed presidential records down the toilet during his time in office. A New York Times reporter provided what she said was photo evidence of ripped up documents in a toilet. Although I don't know when or where those photos were taken. Maybe it was during the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. Hey, we all had to make do there for a while. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Also, I have some doubts as to whether that was actually a toilet Trump used. After all, it's not made of gold. Speaking of Trump, he and other Republicans don't seem to be taking the January 6th committee too seriously. At their annual Conservative Political Action Conference, they had a fake prison cell with a performer who, in character, portrayed a weeping January 6th political prisoner. That performer was Brandon Straka, the founder of the #WalkAway campaign, which is about former Democrats who left the party. He was arrested for being at the Capitol on January 6th, but received only home detention and probation after cooperating with authorities and giving information that led to the prosecution of other rioters. He gave authorities private info that led to individuals' arrests? Who is he, Facebook? Look, say what you want about the people who stormed the Capitol being allegedly treasonous. You can even call them insurrectionists, even though I already covered how the FBI concluded it was not an attempted insurrection. But what I cannot forgive is performance art. This is almost as lame as the dark Brandon memes. And this is just the start. They begin with some performance art, then before you know it, juggling, ventriloquism, and bam, they'll be doing flash mobs. And no one wants that. Actually, now that I think about it, January 6th was basically a flash mob. Oh, so that's why everyone's so upset about it. So what do you think about the stories we covered this week? Leave your comments below. And be sure to support America Uncovered by going to patreon.com/AmericaUncovered. Contribute $1 or more per episode. We rely on your support to help us keep making great episodes. Or join our exclusive censorship-free social media community on Locals. Check out AmericaUncovered.locals.com. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.